Ladies and gentlemen, in the midst of President Trump's tariffs going into effect, Canada's progressive leadership has decided to double down and go their own way. Now, I can't even begin to explain how absolutely incompetent this is, and I'll tell you what, we're going to have a lot to talk about today. But first, I want you guys to take a listen to what Canada's new Prime Minister had to say about all of this yesterday afternoon.
I told the President that I will be working hard for the next month to earn the right to represent Canada in those discussions, to get the best deal for Canada under the new U.S. approach. At the same time, Canada must be looking elsewhere to expand our trade, to build our economy, and to protect our sovereignty. Canada is ready to take a leadership role in building a coalition of like-minded countries who share our values. We believe in international cooperation. We believe in the free and open exchange of goods, services, and ideas. And if the United States no longer wants to lead, Canada will.
Now, no disrespect to any of the fine Canadians in the audience here today, but Canada's GDP is around 8% of what America's is, while their population is around 12%. That is to say, Canada isn't going to be stepping into America's shoes anytime soon. I also have to say, it is just ridiculous to hear him say, "We believe in the free and open exchange of goods, services, and ideas." No, he doesn't. Despite being a part of NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement, Canada has maintained a 298% tariff on American butter, a 245% tariff on American cheese, and a 163% tariff on American eggs. Folks, that's not exactly free trade. I have to be honest here, everyone. I'm getting a little bit tired of all of these other countries trying to gaslight America about free trade when they've all been tariffing us for decades. It's all getting just a little bit too shameless for my liking. But you know what? Because we mentioned NAFTA, take a look at what VP Vance had to say about all of this just yesterday afternoon.
But we care the most about American workers and about American small businesses, and they're the ones who are really going to benefit from these policies. Think about how many factories we've seen close down. Since NAFTA in the early 90s, 90,000 American factories have been closed down. That's small towns that have been blighted. That's millions of workers who have lost their jobs. That has to stop.
And that's your wheelhouse.
President Trump, that is my wheelhouse.
That's where you're from.
I grew up in a town where you had 10,000 great American steel workers, and my town was one of the lucky ones. Now probably has 1,500 steel workers in that factory because you had economic policies that rewarded shipping our jobs to China instead of investing in American workers. And that's what President Trump, he ran on changing it, he promised he would change it, and now he has. And I think Americans are going to reap the benefits.
And so, folks, really what we're talking about here is globalism versus Americanism. All of these other countries, Canada included, that have been disproportionately imposing trade tariffs on the United States of America are now absolutely freaking out because we've snapped out of this globalist stupor during which our incompetent leaders allowed our nation's wealth to be completely stripped away. And you know what? Yesterday evening, Stephen Miller actually had an absolutely amazing breakdown of this entire situation. Take a look.
What is globalization? What is this economic policy that our elites in the United States, so-called elites, have had for the last half century, Democrat and Republican? Globalization is the redistribution of American wealth to foreign countries. It is a formal policy of trying to develop foreign nations at the expense of the U.S. working and middle class. Trillions of dollars that would be in the pockets of American workers is now in China, Cambodia, Vietnam, Thailand, Canada, Mexico, all across Africa, all across Asia. It is the great theft of American prosperity. Prosperity that was won through our victory in multiple wars. We left World War II as the dominant economic unipolar superpower. And instead, over the ensuing decades, all of that wealth, all of that manufacturing, all of that industry was ripped apart by our elites, shipped to foreign countries, and then they sent us the bill. They said, you have to protect Korea, you have to protect Europe, you have to protect Canada, you have to protect Japan. We won't take your cars, we won't take your agriculture, we'll take away your steel industry, your aluminum industry, your copper industry, your electronics industry. All of the national industries that you need to be secure and successful as a country. So what President Trump is saying is, These are the injustices you have to remedy. This isn't just about moving around some lines on a ledger. This is about remedying the systemic injustice that says the streets of America are filled with European cars and Japanese cars, but the streets of Europe and Japan have no American cars. This is about saying that the American steel industry, which once built and sustained the modern world and is now a former husk of itself, coming back now thanks to Trump's tariffs, has to be completely revitalized.
Stephen.
Folks, that is what all of this is about. Americanism versus globalism. And you can't have both. It has to be one or the other. And you know what? Here's the truth. If you want to make this country great again and truly put America first, this whole globalist experiment has got to come to an end. Honestly, I would have expected some of our allies around the globe to understand the dire situation that we're currently in. Our nation is broke, our national debt is at $36 trillion, our domestic infrastructure is crumbling, and up until 2 months ago, things have only been getting worse. So with all of that considered, it's actually astounding that some of our allies are attempting to make us feel bad for no longer giving out free rides. It almost seems like some of these other countries were really only interested in maintaining a relationship with the United States because we were dumb enough to keep giving out free money. But hey, you know what? I guess it's true what they say. When times get tough, you really do learn who your true friends are. I also have to say, at the same time, I really do sympathize with the many awesome Canadians that have to live under this incompetent progressive leadership that they have. As things stand right now, Canada's progressive leadership is pretty much planning on running the country's economy into the ground. They've decided that that's a better outcome than just working with President Trump and meeting him halfway. Because once again, it's worth keeping in mind that the only reason Trump imposed trade tariffs on Canada in the first place is because Canada's progressive leadership refused to help shut down their side of the border. Seriously, they've chosen to completely cut ties with the United States of America instead of just helping to secure our shared border. It really is just mind-blowingly insane. But you know what? Down here in America, we can all be happy that finally we are putting America first. Now, folks, before we wrap up with today's video, I want to say real quick that I've actually gone ahead and made a community Facebook page where I'll be posting additional news and updates that relates to all of this stuff. So hey, if you guys use Facebook, check out the pinned comment down below and give that page a follow. But everyone, that is going to be a wrap for today's video, so please go down below and drop a comment. Let me know what you think about all of this stuff. Please like the video while you're down there. As I like to say, please consider subscribing to the channel because it really does help a ton with my daily struggle here on YouTube against the YouTube algorithm. Thank you all very much for tuning in today, and of course, as always, stay safe.